Hello comic book fans, this is your host, Travis Collins, aka Duck Punch, and I'm back for another episode of Duck Punch Comics, here to look at the last 4 books that we'll be reviewing that came out on September 9th, 2010. Today, it's X-Men number 3, American Vampire number 6, Batman number 703, and Daredevil number 510. Now, by now, you know the routine. We go straight to our reviews with X-Men number 3, written by Victor Gischler, with artwork by Paco Medina. Now, the story of the mutants versus vampires is continuing here with what has been surprisingly entertaining, on the whole, anyway. Though this issue does somewhat backpedal just a little bit in terms of quality. Still, compared to Uncanny X-Men, this is really pretty strong. After realizing that the vampires are now under new management, Cyclops retrieves Dracula's body and brings the vampire lord back to life to combat his son Xeris. Meanwhile, Jubilee has given into her new vampiric nature and lures Wolverine into a trap. Now, we see at the end of this issue the various factions all beginning to align against each other, and we're set for a major confrontation here soon. Now, Gischler is crafting a pretty fun story here. Even for having the Children of the Night hanging around, this is pretty light fare compared to most of the other X titles, which I personally think is a much-needed respite. At the same time, Gischler has done a fantastic job of working the X-Men, which have for many years now been sort of on their own, in their own little corner of the Marvel Universe, in with another long-present, though only recently expounded upon, faction, the Vampires. In doing so, he started the process of bringing the X-Men back into the larger Marvel world, and I like it. Now, Medina does some interesting work on art, though I kind of think he's better at action scenes than he is at anything else. He's not terrible, but I wouldn't be offended if another artist were brought in. X-Men is a nifty title that may not make it past the end of this storyline, but I think we're seeing some real potential. Give this one a shot. Next, American Vampire number 6, written by Scott Snyder, art by Raphael Albuquerque. Now, speaking of vampires, American Vampire returns this month with a new story that takes us from the Roaring Twenties LA into Depression-era Las Vegas, and a whole new shade of craziness that masterfully blends American history with some of the most extreme vampire horror seen in a long time. Now, Las Vegas is in the midst of rapid expansion in the 30s, and this is largely because of the government building Hoover Dam. And Chief Cashel McCougan is desperately trying to keep things under control as many of the unsavories that are working on the dam descend on the town. His problems get worse, however, when one of the 4 men responsible for building the dam is found completely drained of blood. This leads him to an upscale brothel and a face that, for readers of this book, is by now very, very familiar. Now, this is Snyder's first issue flying solo, and he's already crafting a very impressive story. Like I said a moment ago, this doesn't feel like a normal vampire story. Most of the stories about vampires either have them everywhere or as this ever-present shadow. Yet here, they're presented more like the guys you run into when you turn down too many wrong alleys, or that you meet if you just go to the right seedy bar. They're not a shadow empire or a secret cabal. They are monsters, capital M monsters, that may or may not like to hang out together. And more often than not, it's about the people that get caught in their paths. Now, Albuquerque is the only weak part of this book. I just feel like his art is so shadow-heavy that it makes it hard to tell what's going on. Look, I know that this is a horror book, but all the same, it makes it difficult to appreciate what's going on. American Vampire is a book that constantly surprises me. Now, I can't stand vampires, and I can't stand most vampire stories, but for the last 6 months, I have been loving this book. That should tell you something, guys. Next, Batman number 703, written by Fabian Nicieza, with art by Cliff Richards. Now, next month, Bruce Wayne is set to return from his jaunt through time, and as I said a couple of days ago, most of the Bat books are sort of in a holding pattern this month until he returns. This is the case here as well, But that doesn't stop this from being surprisingly good. Which is even weirder considering that I just ripped Nicieza, the writer, a new one for a really shoddy Red Robin issue. Now, Dick Grayson, the new Batman, and Damian Wayne, the new Robin, are trying to chase down a new criminal in Gotham City, with ties to an older foe that Dick faced back when he was Robin, back when Bruce was still Batman. At the same time, the reporter Vicky Vale is trying to discover the identities of the dynamic duo and their friends, and coming really, really close to doing it. Now, I find it odd that when Grant Morrison writes Damian Wayne, Bruce's son, and the current Robin, and a character that Grant himself created, he is obnoxious and completely irritating. Yet when any other writer gets his hands on him, he's actually damn enjoyable. And even with both of the other subplots going on, Nicieza does an excellent job of making Damian a really interesting character, and reminds all the readers that for all of his deadly ninja skills and devil-may-care attitude, he is still a young kid who misses his father, the father he barely got to know before he apparently died. It is quite beautiful to read, honestly. Cliff Richards, the artist, he's alright, but I'm not getting too worked up over him. He's largely unimpressive. For a book that is really just a setup for next month's big event, this was surprisingly heartwarming and interesting. I found myself really liking this, despite the fact that, in all likelihood, I'll be dropping this in November. Still, nice work all around. Last up, Daredevil number 510, written by Andy Diggle and Anthony Johnston, with art by Marco Cicchetto. Now this issue is largely a retread of everything we've already been told, plus some minor developments that display just how bad things have gotten outside of Shadowland itself. But at the end of the day, this book is largely a yawn. Now, Black Tarantula, ostensibly one of Daredevil's lieutenants, is trying to bring Hell's Kitchen back into order with almost zero success, while Daredevil's former friends are all battening down the hatchets and trying desperately to figure out what they're going to do about Matt Murdock. In the end, the sleeper agent, placed right next to Daredevil, makes her move against Black Tarantula, and things go all the way from bad to the worst. You have no idea how much I want to say that I like Diggle and Johnston's work here, but it's just such a retread. I know Matt is out of his mind. How do I know? Because you keep telling me, that's how. I know he's possessed by a demon. How do I know, you ask? You won't stop telling me! This is just the same refrain over and over again, and it's getting beyond just annoying and disappointing. It's getting aggravating. Cicchetto, the artist on the other hand, is gorgeous. Definitely the best art of the entire story arc so far. While I appreciate a Black Tarantula-centered story, this one just wasn't very good. It's like that guy who gives you a ride in his car and just keeps playing the same song over and over again on his CD player, and you can't get out of the car, and you can't make him stop. After about 20 minutes of it, you just want to strangle him. Now, stretch that out from 20 minutes to 3 months, and you start seeing my problem with this issue. So there you go, guys. The last 4 books that came out last week. Tomorrow we're going to have a wrap-up show, some final thoughts. As always, leave comments. Let me know what you thought. Check out my friends Comic Close-Up and Man of Next Year. And as always, have a great day, guys.